Good morning. It's Wednesday Wisdom again, and we are here with the beautiful Brenda Rogers. Brenda is a gorgeous friend and sister of mine that we connected many years ago. She was actually one of my training managers. And I know that was like another lifetime ago, wasn't it? And we've just become really connected from a, like a beautiful sister place where we just, spiritually guide each other and physically and mentally and all of that jazz. So it's so beautiful to have you on here. I think we've had you on here once before, maybe this the first year that I did Wednesday Wisdom.
Yes.
And it was a beautiful session then. So I'd love for you to, I love our topic. I love our topic, talking about, women and gathering strength. So over to you. Let's talk about, where you came to from, like, to be able to talk about this. Who are you, Brenda?
Yeah, right. Well, I feel like I'm stepping into my calling, and that even what's going on in the world is galvanizing that, it's like a birth canal, to use a beautiful feminine metaphor. And even though labor pains, I think we're all feeling that, regardless of our position on the whole jib-jabby thing and the COVID-y thing, and I'm just going to use those words,
Yeah.
And I think out of reaction, really a reaction, this year, I created a monthly women's circle. And I've done face-to-face women's circles before, and they were a lot of work, and I've collaborated with other people, and they didn't really gel. But this one just seemed to be, it just landed, and it just seemed to be what people needed. And we were booked out, and the next one was booked out, and I thought, oh, there's some kind of need here. And I think that we did 3 very successful ones, and the feedback was, oh, I just so need to be heard. I needed that connection, even though it's Zoom, and many of us are Zoom fatigued.
Mm-hmm.
And it just felt so in alignment with the work that I'd been doing over the past 5 years around women's wisdom. And, it might be worth even defining that, Liz. I don't know if your audience even know what that means.
Well, I'm sure that we've got different interpretations too, or, people that are just, there's different levels of consciousness in women of light, people that are just waking up. And so how would you define women's wisdom?
Yeah, and there might be women in your group that are even more into it than me, and I'd love them to reach out and connect. But for me, it started with understanding the cyclical nature, or the cyclical nature of women. And I'm now teaching something that I learned from a very wise woman who's a shamanic midwife, the 4 seasons map. And 4 seasons map, 4 seasons are cyclic, they never end, right? It's summer, autumn, winter, spring, and then winter and then spring, and that is the nature of Earth, and it's the nature of women, because we cycle.
Yes.
Even if we're postmenopausal, we're cycling, and the moon cycles, and nature cycles, and the day cycles. And so to me, there isn't anything in nature and in life that isn't cyclical.
Yeah.
And
is one of the principles of creation, right?
Well, you'd think so, but we live in a culture that is very linear.
Yes.
Our some of our dogmatic beliefs about about profit. Even profit is, we want growth, right?
Yeah.
We're using nature as if it's an infinite resource. We expect to feel good all the time, like up and good and better all the time. We're born and then we die, and then most of us in our Women of Light group think there's more to life post death, but lots of people don't believe that.
No, there's a start and a finish. Yeah, that's right.
It's very linear, and I'm going to be a little bit rude, Liz. I don't know if you mind, but
no, totally fine.
I think of the penis, actually, the metaphor of the penis, which is long and straight and, and that's linear. Whereas the vagina, right, is
I love it.
It's at least a triangle. The symbol for the vagina, or in ancient mythology, is the triangle.
Yeah.
We kind of do, and it's not rude. It's just anatomy.
No,
it's just symbolism.
That's exactly right. But it's like I'd never thought of it before, and you're so right. Like like that. Like go for it, right? Go for it. Like there's a there's a start and there's an end, right? When it comes to the penis, but the vagina is an opening. It's there's a cycle to the whole orgasm. Absolutely.
And you know a lot about that from the beautiful Helen. But I think the and I don't even know what word to use, the patriarchal, masculine, whatever that is over there, perspective on that part of a woman's anatomy has been very fearful. But we digress. I think coming back to cycles, when you understand that you're cyclical, then I think you start to connect with energy, because especially women have their menstrual cycle, and in each 4 weeks, 1 week is spring, 1 week is summer, 1 week is autumn, and 1 week is winter, and each of those embody the essence and energy of those seasons. So your period is winter. This is where you want to hibernate. You want to go within. You want to be left alone. Your energy goes subterranean, and you renew and you nourish yourself so that you can come out into spring again. Ovulation at the other side is we're most attractive, our most magnetic, our most fertile, our most sexual, our most, all of those things. And that used to line up with the full moon. And so, once I started to understand these perspectives, gosh, I wish I'd known it when I was 10, honestly.
Yeah. This is, and I've said this in your women's circle, right? Like actually it was the course that you ran, I think, that this is the sort of information, like imagine being able to share that with your daughter.
Yeah.
But this is the sort of stuff. I mean, I did a ritual, my daughter and I did a ritual when she first bled, but it was nothing like, the knowledge that I didn't have. I have been very intuitively, I would go internally when I was bleeding. I didn't, go swimming. There was a lot of things that I did. I did have that cycle of, being angry about being a woman, and having to go through that, that process. But, when you start to come into that rhythm that you're talking about, it's, you understand it's okay to pull back and to self-nurture, because, you're powerful in that time, right?
Gosh, yeah, powerful in all of it, and I think even just understanding it starts the process, because you did a ritual for your daughter, her first period, which is menarche, is one of the women's rites of passage. I missed all of that, so I did a ritual for menopause, which was called Harvest Autumn Woman. Harvest Queen.
I was there, remember?
You were.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
And what was I going to say about that? You're right. You're there. Anyway.
Just about rituals and like I did a ritual for Carly. Yeah, power. Yeah.
And I think the link to this a lot of source of this information comes from ancient mythology, because because a lot of the matriarchal cultures or pre-patriarchal cultures were oral traditions, and so there's not a women's mysteries Bible, there isn't anything like that, and so it's embodied in the mythology. And I've been studying those lately, and what I've noticed is this complete absence of the crone, or the crone, or the final destructive, the winter time, the winter symbols, which is, think about autumn and winter, it's dying, it's destruction, the leaves are, it's dissolution, it's all that stuff. And you can't have rebirth without death. And so, we've got Kali is your daughter's name.
Yeah.
But also the goddess Kali, which is a goddess of destruction.
Yeah.
Not even in our culture, we don't have anything like that. And so there's this subtle message that, well, we don't die anyway, or we're afraid of dying, so we'll forget all about that, and we won't talk about dying, and we'll medicalize it and legalize it and shove all those people in nursing homes. And
medicate, yeah.
And medicate them and vaccinate them and all the rest of it that we do.
Yeah.
And, I think that for a woman our age, stepping into this really powerful phase of life, this autumn phase of life, and then eventually into the winter phase, it can be very scary, and you kind of left with, well, what am I? Who am I? And this is where I started to go with the women's circle, and then, gathering what you need, the resources that you need, and the strength of spirit you need for 2022 comes back to understanding who you are and where to find that strength of spirit. You can't be strong if you hate yourself, or you're completely lost, or you're just so terrified of aging, or you don't even know if you're terrified of aging. You just feel empty, and life feels meaningless, and all of these things.
And part of, like the disconnection that has been conditioned into us for so many ages, the disconnection has been this slow and subtle, process of disconnecting from our femininity, and like little things. I've spoken about this before on when I was talking to someone similar process on Wednesday Wisdom. It was quite a few years, it was near the start again. Just the idea of little things like chemicals that cause imbalances in our hormonal system. Like I remember a friend staying with a friend, and I was staying there for quite a few months, and she had severe cramps every time. So just a bit younger than me, severe cramps. This was only last year sometime, every time she would cycle. And I didn't think anything of it, because I don't, she'd mentioned it, blah, blah, blah. She called out to her mum, who was going shopping, to grab her some tampons when she was going. Excuse me. And it clicked, and I went, hey, are you using chemical-free tampons? And she said, no, what do you mean? And I said, oh, my gosh, that's why you're getting cramps. She got her mum to buy chemical-free, and she hasn't had pain ever since. Well, years. And I just take that for granted, because that's something that I don't even, I never used tampons. I felt blocked up energetically, so I always used pads, and I used cloth pads for the last 10, 15 years. So I used cloth instead, so that, you know, like I was going as natural as possible. And I'd say that that's why I never had, you know, any of those symptoms. But even those little things of being so disconnected to that cycle that we're, you know, just grabbing whatever off the shelf, because, you know, and this is what women have, you know, women go through this. Women go through painful periods, you know, like it's just the way it is. Well, actually, it's not. It's because we're disconnected from that cycle, you know. Yeah,
I mean, you're stepping into the realm that I love as a naturopath, and you know, being so fascinated with the spiritual aspects and emotional aspects of illness as well, that, you know, where your actual symptoms are is a reflection of what your, I mean, it sounds a bit simplistic. It's not as simple as this, but there's, you know, if you have a uterine issue or a cervical issue, or your endometriosis or period pains, then a lot of that actually represents this disconnection from the family. And it's cultural. I mean, we step into it as a team.
Yes.
You know, one of my mentors, she says that how you celebrate or not a rite of passage tells you about how the culture views your transition, views you as a woman. And you know, a lot of us have shame and all kinds of things associated with our first period, and that's not our problem. That's a cultural problem.
Absolutely.
And it's no accident that that woman has maybe infertility problems or endometriosis or period, you know, like, or breast issues, or, you know, that there's an intelligence, a deep, profound intelligence to the body, which the pill disconnects us from, HRT disconnects us from, antidepressants disconnect.
Yeah.
And not judging anyone for needing those and having those. But maybe they're temporary solutions. Yeah.
And it is a societal conditioning that we just need to wake up to.
Yes, we do.
You know.
We so do, because you get to your you know, your motherhood rite of passage, which may be a baby, or it may be, you know, a business or a project or whatever. And that process is equally sanitized and unrewarding and traumatized and not sacred. And then, of course, menopause is going to be the same. And that's, I wanted to, you know, my mission really is to bring back that sacred to women's well-being and women's bodies and women's rites of passage, because I think that that's what would give women joy again. You know, so many of us have lost joy, and we can find it again through this women's wisdom.
And what are your thoughts on, you know, like that sort of leads us to the whole gathering strength for next year, right? Like it's been a hell of a journey the last couple of years.
Yeah. That's absolutely, especially for people, the woke people, especially for us aware people, it's been horrendous. On one hand horrendous, and on the other hand incredible. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. It's been an interesting, I mean, you and I got on here and went, oh my gosh, what a time to be alive, right? So, you know, it's been really interesting. You know, when you look from a spiritual perspective, you know, we chose to come down here, and we, you know, like I wrote somewhere just recently, or I might have even just said it to my women's, you know, group. Do you think that you came down here to fall apart at this particular time? I don't think so. Like, no, I don't think so at all. And so what would you say we're moving in, like, you know, the gathering of the strength, you know, for 2022?
Well, I think the word gathering was given to me by a very psychic woman, and she said that that's a key thing. And I think that I think it shows you two things. We need to gather together. So, you and I are working on the retreat, my retreat in March. It's the women's circles, it's your group programs, my group programs. I think that the gathering, as wherever we can, is really important, because alone we're conquered, right? Alone we're divided. We're alone where we don't have the strength. We're not meant to do this on our own.
Yeah.
So the gathering is literally gathering, and there's the Wise Women's Gathering in May that's out here at Wiseman's Ferry, and there's there's networking groups, and there's literally coming together, I think, for consciousness raising and deliberate connection is important, and then the gathering of resources. So the gathering of resources is like we were sharing about the 4 seasons map. That's a resource. It's very powerful. I think for me, of course, I'm into wise medicine and wise nutrition and wise traditions and all those things. And so it's the gathering of the herbs, like a lemon balm tea with a little bit of marshmallow or ginger or something, it's those fortifying things. Eating in a way that fortifies the body and gives it strength. You do have to have a physically strong body. The adrenals, oh my gosh, the adrenals, because of the fear and the stress and the relentlessness of everything, we need really good, and that means good quality salt of the earth. We need the minerals that connect us and ground us. The B vitamins for the nervous system, the herbs, the withanias and the ginsengs and these beautiful things. Food that, we need food that keeps us grounded, not just lettuce leaves and mung beans. We need good quality fish and seafood and lovingly raised meats and beautifully fermented dairy that's organic and nourishing and ideally raw. I mean, raw milk is illegal in Australia. Let's fix that. Somebody please fix that.
Yeah.
And then, the real realm of the woman is the garden and the kitchen and the forest. That women used to gather berries and gather barks and gather leaves and roots. And I know it's old-fashioned, but it's become demonized or diminished.
Yes, I was going to say, isn't it interesting, because that that old-fashioned has been given a definition.
Yes.
And again, to create segregation and separation from self and others.
And the feminine.
And the feminine.
And the feminine. You think about all the things that are archetypally feminine.
Yeah.
Women's intuition, not valued. Women's medicine, not valued. All this healing spiritual stuff, not valued. In fact, deliberately suppressed and put down in many, many ways.
Yeah.
Network marketing, which is a very, very circular, beautiful women's business model. Put down.
Put down. Yeah.
It's not men intentionally doing that. It's not. It's just it's all
the collective consciousness of somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't
even another topic altogether, isn't it? How did that formulate? So thank you so much, Brenda. And if anyone is interested in getting in contact, because I know that you do work with people online, and also with you want to tell us a little bit about your retreat coming up?
Yeah, it's the Wise Women's Gathering. No, that's the conference. I should keep it distinct. It's the Women's Wisdom Gathering. It's very similar. Might have to work with that one. And Yin Yoga Retreat at Kiama in March 11 to 13. And I'm just rebranding it because I had to move it for COVID. It wasn't going to be in October, and I'm rebranding it and rewriting the story about it. It's all coming together much, much better now. given what we've been through. And I think that gathering of resources and strength of spirit for 2022 is the year's theme, and certainly the theme for the retreat as well. I've got now a Linktree link. I'll pop that in the
comments. Sounds good.
That's got my various contact details, and people can reach out if they want to go on my mailing list to learn more about the retreat or anything that I do.
Yeah, women's circles and all the other yummy stuff that you do.
Yeah, and I'm just, as you know, because you helped me with this, my wellness manifesto,
gorgeous, by the way, yes.
Power to us. It's kind of there. It's like a 15th iteration. Feels like it probably needs another 15, but I'm going to be offering that out to people who sign up for my newsletter as well.
Oh, that's awesome, because that really inspired me when I was reading it. So it's beautiful. I love it. Yeah.
And thank you. I'm so chuffed that I mentioned and talked about something that you didn't know, because you're amazing. And I thought, if I can teach you something, then my work is done.
Thank you, Brenda. I really love our connection. We've got such a, like, even when we first, it was a working relationship, but we always just connected, right? Sisters just know each other.
Sister from another mother.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So looking forward to, if anyone's got any information, any questions or anything, just pop it into the chat. Would love to hear from you. And, looking forward to supporting you in, because I'm going to be there at the retreat. So it's going to be fun. Take care, everyone, and we'll catch you soon.